Chapter 5. Speckled Orange Paint. In the dining room again, Mr. Slee had Jeff's young daughter on his knee as she told him a story. "Maybe staying tonight? You allowing?" Cal nodded and Mr. Slee returned his attention to the child. The twins had a story to tell too. "We need food for everyone," Kira said. "We made a list," Kyra added. "Lazy Days 7, Cal said. 2 new pods to be loaded and a quick trip. I'll get Mia ready." Even though the ether space part of the trip only took 10 minutes, the time to and then down from orbit made it an hour. For the first time, Mia came with them with the empty pods into the freight building, Cal looking for Jamus, the man who had helped them originally. Like the first time, they had to wait until he was free. "Brand new pods," the man said as he walked close. "The best brand too, I see. 1 to leave for next trip if we can, and 1 to fill for now if we wait. We won't lose these pods. Now what do you fancy we load?" "A good mixture. Food for my staff, and startup samples for sale. Also looking to find where we can buy bags to make up mixed bags to sell." "You want me to choose stock?" "Mainly. And the girls want some bases for our ship, they'll tell you." "My office then." "You paying today? Is there any other way?" "Some pay on the next order, the empty pods left as guarantee." "We'll pay today," Mia said. "We want to keep tight control on our costs." "Wise. Never seen anyone fail when they do that. Can tell you stories about the others though." With the twins offering their suggestions, an order was slowly decided upon and the total calculated. A little more than 2,000 taken from Mia's terminal, and then the wait for the goods to be packed. Then the moment when they pushed their first pod of their own produce out toward their own ship. The trip back seemed to take forever, and finally a small group were standing out to watch the Stallion land, and its sole pod slide out the freight ramp and be pushed toward the main hatch of the Queen of Arcadia. "We're needing a warehouse space quick now," Orbis said as the twins fought to be first to unlock the orange pod. "We'll carry what we need into the ship," Cal said. "The rest can stay in the pod to keep fresh." Of course the bases that they wanted for the liner's auto kitchen were packed at the bottom, but it didn't seem to matter, everyone happy to explore the produce, even Jeff's children helping with the unpacking. "I'll get the display shelves next to make it easy to see what we've got," Cal said. "You got things I've never even seen before," Orbis said as he carefully inspected some of the boxes. Cal thought a little the same. Jamus had really given them a wide range, enough to fire the enthusiasm of the staff. "Samples for all the staff," Cal said. "We all need to enjoy the produce and learn what we like." "We didn't get enough prickleberries," Kira said. "I thought you'd eaten enough to last you forever," Mia said. "But forever has passed," Kyra said. "We could eat millions more now." The sky was darkening and the pod still hadn't been sorted finally, and the president of Specialist Produce Handlers messaged to say he would be free in 4 hours if they could make it then. "Can we make it?" Cal asked Mia. She nodded eventually. "Maybe we stay in orbit after for a sleep." She nodded at that. With a box of L-84 power rods in his hand, Cal led the women to the delivery doorway of Specialist Produce Handlers, telling the guard they had an appointment with the president, and then would want to load up what of the display units that would fit in their ship. "We know the way to the showroom," Kira said before the guard had a chance to tell anyone. He waved her forward and the rest followed. Inside the showroom, the twins showed Mia all the things they thought interesting. The girls always seemed ready for more, but Cal was fighting to stifle a yawn. It had been an eventful day, and now they were early here and wishing it would be over, and he was thinking more of getting a good sleep in orbit than the van deal he had to do. "Ready to order some of this magnificent series of displays?" The president announcing his presence and startling Cal. "Ready to order, certainly. Maybe not what you expect though." "I see you're serious though," the president said nodding toward the box in Cal's hand. "I've thought over your advice very carefully, and have decided another step in your plan. I need a solid base behind me before we open our first mega shop." "Stallion Produce Mega Shop?" Sounds good. We like it, Kira said from the side. To get to there I need a fleet of delivery vans to flood parts of the city with pre-packed fixed-priced packs of mixed produce. Vans that will call attention to themselves and will have people flocking to buy from them. I'm seeing them as orange with our logo and with a hollow sign on top displaying the products and the pricing. Difficult to handle the sales, the president said thoughtfully. Fixed price packs. 1, 2 and 5 credit packs. Choice limited to what we put in the pack. And that will be what you get the best deal on. I like that. But can you supply it? A van set up like that. Counter door on the side I assume. Rear access for bulk deliveries to some places as well. Hollow sign like those displays, the president pointed to the impressive displays they'd all seen. Maybe even music or a spoken message too, Cal said. A lot of staff costs. But no rent costs, and not getting trapped in an area that won't buy. Low returns overall. But great turnover to build an even bigger business. I haven't done vans before. Will take some thought. We haven't done it before either, but I thought you would be the best to make it work, Cal said. Let me make a call and I'll come back to you. The president shot out the room and Cal saw Mia smiling at him. He's sold. He's working out how to rip us off, Cal said softly. But he'll do a great job doing it. He wants to keep us buying from him. It's possible, the man said bursting into the showroom again. I can get a suitable van tomorrow to begin. Only good quality. We don't want something that will break down. I only deal with top quality goods. My name and your future business is on the line too, but quality costs. What you got to trade? L84S. Fair swap. 1 for 1. How long for the first one? I'll message you, but 1 week if nothing goes wrong. Payment for 6, Cal said. All we need now is to know if they'll fit in our ship. Worried about the height? Give me a moment. Another trip out the room, shorter time this time. Dimensions on your terminal now for you to check. Allow a little extra for the sign control box, but really we'll both need to wait until the first one is ready. A week, Cal said handing over the box of rods, and this time the president escorting them all to the guard point. I have their requested order parts lined up, sir, the guard said to the president. See you in a week for the unveiling, the man said. I can see a great business future for both us. I said you were royalty, the guard said when the president was on his way back inside. Maybe he just likes our cash, Cal said. Now the fun of trying to fit these displays in our ship. 3 full-height glass display pods and 2 half-height top-loading display pods guided out of the warehouse by the warehouse staff, and the new pods lined up along the ramp of the Stallion. Although they seemed large, all the displays did fit into the hold with space to spare. Then it was a gentle flight into a parking orbit and Cal called the ship to be asleep, and even though some were wanting to get back and try out the new displays, eventually all settled down. A good sleep and a long trip home and their base had changed when they landed. Jeff had returned Mr. Slee to the bazaar in the runabout, quite a feat since he was new to this planet. Then Mia said she wanted to begin the treatment of Jeff's oldest son's legs, and the assistant nurses insisted they be involved too. That left Cal to unload the displays and tell Orbis the news, but Orbis had some advice too. That agent man of yours. Hard to understand but I like him. We need his daughter too. As much local connections as you can find. We need to decide where things are going to be before we spread out too much, Cal said. I still need to keep space for a shop and parking area in front. Leave it to Jeff and me. We'll do that while you work out how you're going to get the staff you need. 6 vans will need 12 men to begin. That's 12 families to make this site feel like a real home. All I can offer them is a home and food for now, Cal said. Don't forget medical. That means you can offer them everything they need, other than loose change in their pocket, and most will be happy to wait for that. I was thinking of getting people from the areas we sell in, since they'll have local knowledge we can use, Cal said. That's thinking, lad, but you really need to start getting them now so they can be settled in when the vans begin arriving. Then Cal's terminal beeped with a call. Not job I having but private talking we do. Orbis is with me. Is that good? Better even. Him good man. Talking daughter I be doing. Telling her and she saying yes. She wanting seeing you and here now. Is possible no. Mia is treating that lad's leg at the moment. Get Jeff to go in the runabout, Orbis interrupted. You happy for Jeff to pick her up? I telling yes. She doing. Waiting with me she being now. Telling her outside waiting where morning I leaving. I'll get Jeff on the way soon, Cal said. You need to use him, Orbis said. Jeff wants to do things, and you need to keep yourself to do the big decisions. I know it's hard to let go at times. I know that too well. It is, Cal said softly. But, I know you speak from experience, so I can try to learn quickly. Stop you repeating my mistakes. Orbis looked off into the brown. It's hard for me too. Now let's get Jeff moving while we plan where to place all these ships. This is Agatha and her husband and son, Jeff said when the runabout returned and he was helping his passengers out. I'm Cal and this is Orbis, the man who is looking after this base. My women are involved in medical work right now, but we'll all show you what has been set up so far. Orbis took over guiding, mainly the large liner, pointing to the rooms he had allocated for them if they choose. Agatha turned to face Cal and said, Can we go back and get our belongings today? A quick decision. I haven't said what I can offer. You're offering a way for us to make a real change in this land, and we want to be a part of it. Agatha had spoken with such certainty that Cal was temporarily speechless. I can run them back and wait, Jeff said. Welcome on board, Cal said. And you will indeed have a part in all our future. Do you object if I tell Jeff a different place to land, closer to our flat? He's yours to command, providing it is a safe landing spot. 2 more men for the vans, Orbis said as the visitors were heading back toward the runabout. And a woman to boss something, Cal added. I'm sure she'll be wanting your job next. And what is my job exactly? Apart from senior site manager, you're my mentor, and I hope you're my friend. You'll be getting me an orange top next. No, the girls will do that. They'll say I don't know about fashion and such. You need to keep them busy with other things so they don't notice, Orbis said, but Cal knew they would notice soon enough. With nowhere to leave the new displays other than outside alongside the existing pods, Cal worked at getting them there. Then the women came from the Stallion to say the work on the boy's legs had gone well, and he was now sleeping, but he needed 5 more operations at least a week apart. Then Orbis asked Mia to tell exactly where their land went, and that sent a crew searching for the exact 4 corners to mark the points with piles of rocks. Next, scraps of metal used to scratch plans in the dirt of possible layouts for the site. After some research of wind directions in the area, a final plan showed a ship landing area all along the eastern side with the future shop toward the middle and warehouses either side. Behind that were to be the workshops and spares area. What's your plans for the hill? Orbis asked Cal when he'd finished describing the rest. A giant sculpture of a prancing horse. So big it can be seen from space, Kira said excitedly. How will you make it? Mia asked. Cutting parts of metal from old wrecks, Cal said. Keep it in the style of the bazaar. Sounds to me like you're trying to make it as famous as the bazaar, Orbis said. Give them some competition. Something else I've been thinking. When we get more credits, we should try to buy more of the land around here, in case we want to expand even more. The twins were loudly saying how they'd need a lot more space for the huge carnival and spaceport, while Orbis was smiling and saying they would look to begin moving the existing ships to their new spots tomorrow. When Jeff arrived with Mr. Slee's daughter, all the women were free to loudly take over the welcome and help move possessions into the chosen rooms of the liner while Jeff was sent back to bring Mr. Slee as well. Cal went along for the ride, thinking it should be quieter than a group of women at full voice, but when the 3 returned they were quickly pulled into the women's planning. We need all those price lists from your terminal, Kira said to Cal as soon as he was spotted. Agatha is going to show us all how to make up our price list and website, Kira added. The main screen of the liner had been modified into a business screen, and the women were all talking about what was needed and what they could do. Cal transferred all the price lists he had accumulated and stood back. It seemed his ideas were not needed. At least he got to talk to Agatha's husband and teenage son, the man with a driving license and keen to work with his son on one of the new vans. Good to seeing people, Mr. Slee smiled at Cal when he caught his eyes. Office closing I soon doing. Can we get some more work to keep credits coming into my loan? Trying tomorrow I doing. Thinking you wanting keeping suppliers knowing you. Exactly, Cal said. While we don't get much credits, we are learning more, and the suppliers are getting to know us better. I bet they are only giving you enough work to hardly survive even if you work all day and night, Orbis said. I know how they keep you down. Doing to all. Even me. Just paying rent enough. No more. Daughter knowing well. You telling them stories, Dad? Agatha called from in front of the screen. I'll tell you how it is. Took me a long time to understand, but now I know. She telling you, Mr. Slee said. Little I telling her, but smart she being. Only a handful of people own this whole planet, same with most other ones too. People think Grand Bazaar is a great freedom place, but it is an illusion. There is very little freedom here for nearly everyone. Every house and apartment is rented from a company. Few bother to look, but when you do, the same few names own all those companies. The same people who own the companies that own the diners. The same few who own the bazaar itself. People think they have a choice, but the only choice is in the name of the company they are dealing with. Traders have to rent their premises from the company. Then buy their stock through another company, and if they don't, like my father, the company punishes them by removing their business, or making sure they only get enough business to slowly go broke. I saw a glimpse of that when I tried to deal with the diners, Cal said. Even the owners are really just renters, and they're controlled by their landlord. Very little happens in this planet without one of the companies having some control. Your ship is controlled by a loan, but this land is not. They thought it too worthless to worry, and I'm sure they will expect you to go broke very quickly now they have throttled all your business. But how can someone like me be controlled? Mia asked. License to fly. Every ship tracked. Implant to track your every move, and no work if you don't do what they want. They know when he goes broke you are back waiting for some approved person to employ you. There was silence a time, then Agatha went on. When my father told me about you, I knew that here was my one chance to escape from the control. You were surprised at how quick I wanted to join you, but it was not quick at all. I've waited for years to find a way. Now all I want is to make a life free of the control of those few faceless men that hide behind their companies, and I never expected it could be done with food, but it's obvious when you see. Not to me, Kira said. The controllers use housing and food to control people. By you offering good food at a fair price, you take away part of their control. You can't house everyone, but you can feed them. Half of what people need. The companies will lose part of their grip, and at some time, there will come a time when the people will take back their lives and become truly free. Powerful she speaking, my girl. Sense she speaking, Orbis said. Cal's mind was spinning. Agatha had laid out in plain words his future. Not that she had said everything, but he now saw where this path was pointing and what his part would be. You all right? Mia asked. You look white. He's fine, Orbis said. Just seeing what some of us saw before. It was a week of preparations. All the ships moved into what might be their final positions. Women spent hours working out price lists and order list to send customers, and then calculating values of what could be put in the fixed-priced assortment packs. In between, Mr. Slee obtained some low-priced produce runs for other customers, even though he had shifted business fully during the week into the liner. Everyone was waiting for the message to say the first van was ready, but instead a message came saying another old freighter was on its way. This one should be good for a shop, Orbis said. At least we can use it for a warehouse if not. Guided to land near the others, everyone was keen to see inside. Orbis was not one to waste an empty freighter. The twins were leading the run and were the first to yell their approval. There was another runabout in the hold, as well as 2 small manual freight handlers. Looks a great shop, Cal said to Orbis, the man smiling as he looked around. You did well. We'll have to rearrange a couple of other ships, but it'll be worth it. Can we take that new runabout for a spin? Kira called. We won't crash it, Kyra added quickly. Cal noticed the ferry crew were whispering together and he waved them closer. You getting more people now? The captain said. Needing more ships still. Cal looked at Orbis before he said, maybe, but not until we have some business. We were saying we might be willing to wait if something could come up for a crew, the captain said. You were talking about that small freighter, the pilot, Ginny said, looking between Cal and Orbis. He's the boss, Orbis said nodding to Cal. The work we're going to have first is shifting a fleet of vans over this planet, out and then back every day. We're waiting to see what size they work out, to see what we need to move them. No space work then, Ginny said. Once we get the business up, we will need space work. Close planets mainly. How soon? Ginny asked. I'll tell them, the captain said, looking at Ginny. Truth is we want our own home. A ship to live in, and a place to maybe start a family. We're tired of running from ship to ship. We've got a flat we hardly ever see since we're running between ships to get the credits to pay the rent. Ginny was looking between faces. We know you treat people well, and you got a medic too. A baby before we get too old. All we can offer now is accommodation, food and medical if needed, Cal said. I'm not sure what Orbis has planned for that smaller freighter. The pair looked to Orbis. You know a freighter you would like that I could buy? Something to do both local moving of vans, and then close space work with freight. Might be long hours when we get busy. Would you allow us to choose? The captain asked. Orbis nodded. Price limit though? Maybe 5. 6 if it's extra special. And we won't have our maintenance set up for months so it'll need to last till then. Then to Cal, you'll need them to take the pressure off you. You'll be too busy sorting troubles and getting new sources of produce. And another ship now will save us unloading this one here. If we can find a ship we think will work, we load our things and make it a one-way trip then, the captain said. I'll have to trust you to handle the deal and payment, Orbis said staring into the captain's eyes. So what's stopping you running off with the payment? He would, Ginny said after a moment, pointing to Cal. If we ran off he would chase us to the end of the galaxy and beyond. I know. You have yourself a deal then. I'll find a box of power rods for you to take, and you message him what's happening. We're expecting work to begin in a few days, and really get busy in 2 more weeks. I suppose I better get you back quick so you can start looking, Cal said, the pair smiling for the first time. The trip in the Sea Stallion was another opportunity for the ferry crew to ask questions and the others to tell them all about the proposed new business. Then a quick visit to specialist produce handlers where another 6 new pods were loaded, and then back to base to unload. They had only been away a day and the site had changed once again. The old freighter that had just been delivered had been moved to stand looking over the parking area, and inside its large freight hold along the left side wall were the 3 large display cabinets, with the 2 waist-height ones positioned in front of them. This hold's too big, Orbis said. Need heaps more displays to fill it. A couple of these new freight pods on the other side for the bulk things, Cal said. Women were thinking of benches, Orbis pointed, sweeping around the open middle area. Good place to sort and pack for the vans. I agree, Cal nodded. Keeps all the produce in one place. This shop ship should be colored orange, Kira said loudly. We could paint it, Kyra added. We can use a runabout and get some paint. You could work out how much we need and where and how much it is, Cal said. Then we'd be best to get it, Kira said. It's almost like we could make sales from here if any ships wanted to come, Cal said, mainly to himself, but loud enough to be heard. That Agatha is planning that, I think, Orbis said close to Cal. She's as determined as you to make this work. She's been hinting to me about hollow signs. Do you know much about them? But I'm sure they're expensive. Maybe cheaper to get the girls to paint a sign on the roof, Cal said half in jest. Somewhere in these old ships is a paint sprayer. You think I should try to find it? They'll turn everything orange, even themselves. But it will give the rest of us a good laugh, Orbis said. Hardly 5 minutes and the twins were annoying Cal again, armed with a cost for the exact amount of orange paint they needed to cover the top of the ship, and insisting they knew exactly where to get it and were ready to go now. If I let you go, you promise to just get the paint and come straight back. We promise, the girls said together. Prove to me you can do it without getting captured again, he said, handing over the last of the plastic he had. And let Mia know what you're doing before you go. We will, the pair said before they raced away. Cal was left shaking his head and sure he had done the wrong thing. That was reinforced when Mia found him. I wouldn't have let those two go away by themselves. What were you thinking about? Neither have licenses. What if they crash somewhere out on the plains? I want them safe too, he sighed. But sometimes we need to let them prove themselves. What if slavers get them again? I won't rest until we get them back, and I've personally dispatched the ones that took them. While he waited for the twins, Cal attempted to help the women and children moving the produce stored in the pod into the display shelves, watching while what took up half a pod was spread over the 3 large wall displays. It looked like the displays were full, and it was certainly impressive seeing the various colors of fruit and vegetables displayed so well. I've prepared a price list for you to approve, Agatha said. I've made 2 price levels. One for normal sales and one lower for wholesale and ship sales, but those lower prices are depending on them buying a minimum quantity. Cal looked through her list. He knew the long-term future of the business depended on exact pricing. Too low, and they would certainly sell a lot, but end up broke. Too high and they would find it difficult to get sales. I've taken account of retail prices here and set our prices lower, but not too low to leave enough margin to allow for the wholesale prices too. I see you've made a wholesale price for our pre-packed bags. In the 1 credit pack, the minimum is 10 packs for 7.5 credits. I was thinking you might find people who wanted to start their own business around the apartments. I was thinking of the diners too, Cal said. Very impressive work by the way. When the twins get back we'll get everyone together and discuss this. I want them to understand what's behind what we're doing. Are you planning on putting all these items on the web and price list, even the things we haven't got yet? 2 options for you to choose. One is list everything and then run to get it when we get an order. The other is to list it, but mark it as on order. The twins were still not back and Cal received a message from the president of Specialist Produce Handlers saying the first van should be ready for testing in 24 hours. Mia was urging Cal to send the ship out to try to find the girls when the runabout was spotted heading toward them. We got a good deal on the paint, Kira said, the first one out of the hatch. It's not a popular color so they gave us heaps extra, Kira added as she scrambled to get out quick too. Others came to help carry the cans of paint out of the runabout and Cal announced, meeting in the shop in 10 minutes. News for everyone, he said when he had some silence. Our first van will be ready in 24 hours, and we'll go and see if it will fit in our ship. There was some loud murmuring at that. Now I've been very impressed with the work people have been doing to get us ready to trade. I want everyone to have a look at this new price list, and I'd like any comments about the prices, and we need to decide how we handle items we don't have in stock. Agatha has some ideas and she will tell you all in a minute. And then the shop. Our soon-to-be orange-painted shop. I love the idea that we are almost ready to take sales if a ship happens to call in. Things are going so fast, but it raises an issue we need to decide. Do we stock food bases for auto kitchens for sale to other ships? We'll be missing a lot of sales if we don't, Agatha said. Maybe if we only stocked the good quality ones, Mia said. Not that cheap stuff. I've lived on that stuff forever. I vote for sales, Orbis said. We can't cook two-headed snake rolls without it, Kira said. And the bases keep such a long time, Kyra added. I've got my answer then, Cal said. We'll arrange an order. I've found that paint sprayer, Orbis said. We can turn everything orange in the morning before you go to collect the van. Within an hour everyone had approved the new price list and all young ones had volunteered to help with the painting. After a very early start, and a lot of advice from Orbis and Jeff, a good amount of the orange paint was applied to the top and sides of the shop ship. At least the viewports had been spared in case they had to move the ship again, but all the young helpers had developed a spotty complexion, that had to wear off eventually. They are having great fun, Orbis said from the top of the ship as a young girl used paint-covered hands to make orange handprints ahead of the advancing sprayer. Midday when the Stallion set off to see the van unveiling. Cal was feeling butterflies in his chest as they flew, and he knew it wasn't the ether space wobbles either. He'd been doing arithmetic in his head, and the figures he was getting back were not what he dreamed. Maybe this was why no one else had tried this way of trading. Imagine they sold 100 packs in a day. That was a possible amount with effort, and it returned 100 credits at the end of the day. Now the produce will cost at least 40. Then there was freight and van costs. Then wages for drivers and packing crew. That lot has to add another 30. Then there was the cost of housing and feeding all the staff, and he had to remember to have money put away to replace the vans and ships, and pay the loan on the one he had now. There was nothing left. That's why no one did things like this. At least all the staff were taken care of, but there was nothing left to expand the business as he imagined. He was building a fleet of vans that should at least pay for themselves. I suppose that was something. Unless he could sell more. Unless they increased the prices. Well, he didn't want to increase prices much, so he had to sell more. 200 packs a day would give some return, but that was a lot of customers. Day after day. Week after week. But he was committed now. So deep in. It just had to be made work. Mia was certainly going with them into specialist produce handlers. Even the guard at the warehouse door knew something special was happening. I've had instructions to call when you arrive. The guard's call had Cal being told to wait, and he will be escorted. I said you were royalty, the guard said. The president met them, his face beaming. Follow me. I'm sure you'll like it. A different place this time, toward the showroom, but then turning through a corridor and into a wide doorway. Now tell me what you think. Is that how you pictured it? It certainly was how Cal imagined it. Maybe even better. Of course the color made it stand out, and the prancing stallion focused the eye. Above the roof of the van was a hollow display showing pieces of fruit dancing to a tinkling melodic tune. In the middle of the side of the van was an open window, doors either side and a counter at the bottom of the opening. Moving closer, behind the entrance were wire bins lifted up for products, the bins tilted to be easily seen and taken through the opening, and to one side, a terminal screen to take the payment. This is the best, Kira said excitedly, while Cal turned around to see the back doors open allowing access for bulk produce and another door through to the driving position in front. When the doors are all closed, the back of the van acts like a long-life store pod, the president said. No need to remove unsold stock, just close all the doors. Seats for 3, Mia said. Cal hadn't seen that far yet. Lets you use it for spare staff too, the president said. One option is to replace one seat with a juice dispenser, but that's for later. We'd like the juice, Kyra said. Could also put one on the other side of the sales counter from the terminal. I'm very pleased with how it is right now, Cal said, before the twins continued with their redesign. It's even better than I imagined. How do we stop the music? Mia asked. Automatic with the counter doors. Open and the music starts. Immediately the twins went to test that feature. Of course you can program the image and music to whatever you like. I'm just using some we've been experimenting with. I think it's good as it is, Cal said. Catchy, and maybe annoying in time, but people will know it's us. You have it exactly. Annoying but catchy and memorable. Worth trying. Want to take it for a spin? Mia is the only one with a license, Cal said. We can stay in the back, Kira said. We'll pretend we're selling prickleberries, Kira added. Eating them, Mia muttered. Do you mind if I sit in the middle? The president asked. I can help explain the extras. Cal was sure Mia didn't want any help, but he stayed quiet while everyone found their places. Even with the back and side doors closed, there still seemed a lot of space inside the back of the van. Cal watched while Mia adjusted the driving seat to suit her. No automatic couch here. The president poked something on his terminal and a side of the room in front of them slid open to the outside. It will warn you if you're about to approach something too high. Mia set off, the president offering a series of suggestions that Mia seemed to mainly ignore, while the twins were offering their thoughts of how good it was. Cal had not completely shaken his qualms, and driving in his dream was not giving him the thrill he felt it should have. Can we try to see if it will fit in our ship? He asked after Mia had tried the handling enough. No answer, other than the van turning in the direction of their ship. For such a sized vehicle, it does handle well, Mia said as they drove on the landing area. Should be no trouble getting drivers for it. Cal was on the outside, so he got out to lower the ship's freight ramp, then stood back to watch. The van seemed as though it might just fit into the hold, but it would be tight. He watched Mia approach the ramp very slowly, her and the president looking up as the roof of the freight hold came close. From the side, Cal saw there was space, but the others were still being careful, inching forward and nothing hit. No crunches and then the van was all inside and there was space still for more. Maybe not another van, but certainly a couple of pods. It works, Kira yelled as she raced out the back door. We should learn to drive too, Kira said. I was worried, the president said. You'll really need a bigger ship soon. One ordered, Cal said. Hopefully one big enough to carry 6 at once. Another feature I didn't mention. Locking. You can lock all but the side counter doors when you are inside selling. Did that to stop people sneaking inside while you're busy. That's a great feature, Cal said. And I noticed you had an area for a price or special list on the side doors too. Gives people queuing a chance to decide on their order before they get to the front. In the business you plan, you need fast throughput. Been worrying a lot about that, Cal said. I'm guessing you have to be able to handle one customer per minute, and with say 5 hours sale time, gives you 360 transactions in the day. Don't know any standard shop that can do that. We haven't done it yet either. With technology like this you will. By this time tomorrow we'll know if we can even get one sale, Cal said. I'll message you how it all goes. You want me to do the rest the same? Cal looked over to Mia who was still sitting on the driving seat studying the controls. Mia. The other 5 the same. I vote yes. We do too, Kira called out. Back to work for me then, the president said. We'll load another 2 pods and go home and get ready to test, Cal said, walking with the president toward the guard's place. Mia finally got out the van. You really like it? Cal said to her when she was staring vacantly at the orange vehicle. It's the closest to a vehicle I own I've ever been. When we get rich, I'll get you a small sport racer ship, just for you to parade around in. Orange I suppose. Whatever color you choose. It'll be yours. The Stallion Book 2. The Base at Grand Bazaar. A Space Adventure. By Mystic Alchemist. Copyright 2024 Mystic Alchemist. All rights reserved. Written in Australian English. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places and incidents are either a product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual people living or dead, events or locales is purely coincidental. Cover and text written and assembled by hand without use of artificial intelligence.